Hello, welcome back to the channel, Cobalt Mood. I have not been crying. I had just not gotten a lot of sleep. So decisions were made at the end of yesterday's route that I regret. I usually don't record on Saturdays or Sundays, but I decided to keep it going just this week because I wanted to still keep track of how I was doing during this marathon sourcing week. And the goal is to get 23 items every day for 8 days ending on the 19th. Yesterday, I had full intention of doing what I discovered in the video, which is I'm about to hit a sourcing route that's going to take me a long time to drive to start. And I need to cut out shipping, editing the video, and listing to be able to leave faster. So I had full intention of doing that. But then I saw that both my phone and my power bank was not charged. They were both at around 20%. And I do have a phone charger in my car, but I don't really believe it charges, or it charges very slow. I feel like it mostly holds the charge of items. So it's really important for me to get at least the power bank charged up. So I decided to charge both. And then while I was doing that, I was like, let me just knock out the rest of my tasks that I was going to do later. And I am actually very glad I did that. And I'll tell you a little bit more why that is later. Okay, so while it was charging, I went ahead and did all those tasks I was going to skip. And then I was able to leave around just shy of 2. I did pack a lunch for myself to take on the road. So by the time I left, it was raining. So that also added time to the route. I went to the post office and then I began my drive. So the drive to my first store was about 45 minutes with rain. And got a few items there, like 3 items. And then it was another 30 minutes to get to my next store. So I was in Salem at the time, and I have only done the Salem route one other time. And I did go to a few thrift stores that weren't Goodwills, and I learned that they don't have plush. So I was able to remove those stops from the route this time around, which was great since I was short on time. I got to Salem probably around 4-ish, and I hit 4 stores there. I remember after the third one, it was maybe just shy of 7. I was really feeling like done. Like I was done before I started the route, but I was really done at that point. And usually I count my items when I get home, but I'm like, you know what? Let me just count them now, because then if I hit the goal, I can just leave. and so I counted, and what luck. I was shy by 1 item. So I had an hour until my next store closed, and the other stores around me closed as well. And it was basically get 1 item from this other store, or the backup option was the Goodwill bins in Salem. I typically avoid the bins because they're too overwhelming for me. So anyways, I was hoping I didn't have to do that. I was like, I will squirrel and find 1 item if I need to. So while I was at my last store, I realized, okay, if you're not feeling it today, the chances of you feeling it tomorrow is probably low. So take the full hour if you need to go through all the sections and get as many items as you can. So with that said, I landed at 29 items. So now I have an overage from today and an overage from yesterday. So today when I go sourcing, I only need to find 12 items, but probably will just try to get to 20, because then that'll make tomorrow easier as well. So why I hated my life. Okay, I was able to get through the last store, right? And I was sitting in my car just feeling like okay, I did it, but I did not reserve a brain cell to be able to drive an hour to get home. And it was 8 p.m. at this point. And then I remembered, oh, I brought an emergency backup energy drink. Now, I should have just gone to Starbucks at this point because I have been a coffee person all my life, and I now have harnessed the ability to get artificial energy from coffee and then immediately fall asleep afterwards, like as if I didn't drink it. Whereas I don't have that same tolerance with energy drinks. So I drank an energy drink at 8 p.m. I was like sipping it as I was driving back to my home. So like it did get me there safely. I am grateful for that. And I also didn't spend money on, stopping at a restaurant or whatever to get like food or drinks because I had it all with me. But yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have drank maybe like half and then thrown the rest away because I was basically wired once I got home. And you would think, oh, great. Now you can do your last task, which the only thing left was to list my 8 items that I had already photoed before I left. But I had zero motivation. So I was wired with like the inability to like process and do anything more with my body. So it took me, I was trying to like distract myself. First, I started with a podcast. I listened to like an hour podcast and I had only listed 1 item. I was like, okay, this is not working. And then I realized, oh, I actually never finished The Voice. I was on the finale. I was like halfway through the finale. I started it back at the beginning of The Voice, and I just told myself, by the end of this finale, you have to be done with your listings. And like I actually needed to be done with my listings because at this point, I only had 2 hours till midnight, and I try to get them all in before midnight so it counts for the day. So I was able to do that somehow. And I had like 15 or so minutes left till midnight. And yeah, after that, still very awake. I just basically doom scrolled for the next like 2 hours. And I went to sleep around 3 a.m. So, yeah, don't recommend you take an energy drink. Note to self, also. I think Starbucks was still open at that point, but yeah. I literally was just like sitting in the thrift store parking lot for like 30 minutes before I actually got the idea of like, oh, I had the energy drink, and the thrift store employees had left at that point. Like the store was closed. I'm like, okay, you're sitting in front of the store, like time to move your body. And I told myself, when you get home, you get chicken nuggets, you get fries. So yeah, I had dinner at like, what was it? Probably 9:30. Probably the latest I've had dinner after a long sourcing day. Yeah. I feel like it really went downhill yesterday. And yeah, I woke up this morning and I'm feeling honestly still a little bit queasy. I woke up around 7, so slept from 3 to 7. Yeah, felt a little queasy and I was like, ooh, yeah, that energy drink, like still with me. So I wish I could use today to reset, but that's not how marathons work, apparently. So yeah, not part of the plan. So for this morning, so I'm going to just get through my plan so I can, convince myself that this is what we're doing today. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you some items I picked up yesterday where I really use that indicators of value to bring the items home with me because all of them I've never seen before. Okay, so my plan is I have probably going to edit after this. I have therapy. Thank God my therapist was cool and let me reschedule after I stood her up. Therapy this morning for an hour, and then I hope to leave after that to go meet up with somebody off Facebook Marketplace to buy bankers boxes from them. I am crossing my fingers that they are actually a real person because like all of their images are made with AI. They are like an older retired realtor. They have sold other things on the platform, but like they use AI to make their listings. I don't really see the point of a scammer with bankers boxes, but we'll just see. We've been messaging since yesterday, but we couldn't get the schedules to align. So hopefully I'll get my bankers boxes, because see this pile back here that I'm very proud of, by the way. This, what you're looking at, is not only my queue of 10 days now, but it is my perfectly measured space. So I had just enough space to put 2 stacks of bankers boxes that I'm just going to fill to the ceiling this week, instead of putting my 8 every day in trash bags and filling this space in the middle. So organization wise, it's just like in the corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and show some items I picked up and the indicators of value I use to bring them home with me, besides, of course, looking them up as well. Okay, so the first one I picked up, I was really back and forth about grabbing. So it's in really good condition. It's this like kind of vinyl looking dinosaur. When I first picked it up, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I've never seen anything like this, which usually indicates like we should look that up. If you've never seen something like that, that could be like rare or just hard to come by. And I kept like grabbing it and then putting it back and grabbing it. And then as I was leaving, I saw underneath it that there actually was a tag. And the tag says it was copyright 1993. So I was like, okay, actually, yeah, this is a vintage item. It just must have been sitting on somebody's shelf, which is why it's in amazing condition. So I wasn't able to find this exact dino, but I did find others like it that are similar style, and people are getting roughly $40 for them. The next one is this turtle guy. He is from this brand called U2's. It's pink, and he has the hang tag as well with his name and information about him. So I've sold a U2's product only once before. I think I showed it on the channel. It was that like cat that had a magnet coin at the top, and it was from this like video game. So U2's works with content creators, people who have like followings on like YouTube or Instagram, and will make these plush with the content creators and then produce these limited runs for their audience. So this guy actually is not listed at all on eBay. So from there, I went ahead and Google Lensed him, and I found that he was a collab with I wrote it down, award-winning social media cartoonist called Sock Puppet Master, SPM. So he originally sold around $30 on U2's website in 2025, but he's out of stock everywhere. At this point, I control the market. So I sold the Slime Rancher cat for around $35. And I had a lot of watchers on that item, and I remember I just had to wait for somebody to actually buy it. So I might start the turtle out a little bit higher, maybe around 45, and just see who picks up the item. Okay, so the next item, we're moving over to hats now. So I actually started in hats when I got to my last store, because I was like, you know what, squirrel brain, come through for me. And I had been to that store before, but I never looked at the hats. I guess I wasn't doing hats at the time. But yeah, they had quite a large selection. I found some really interesting ones. So this one is a leather. Keywords I saw were like newsboy, cabbie. It has the embroidered Nike swoosh on the back. By the texture, I immediately could tell it was leather. The condition on the inside is not very good, so it's kind of ripped apart. There is not a Nike tag on it that I could find. It could potentially not be authentic, but because of the age of the item, I just figured maybe there once was a tag and somebody removed it, or anyways, I'm guessing this is probably from the 80s or 90s that this came out, and it feels like it's a piece of history, to be honest with you. There's probably Nike collectors out there. I do live in Oregon, which is very close to Nike headquarters, so that's kind of something I've been thinking about, is just learning more about Nike, because that is something in my area that I'm going to come across a lot. And the chances of me finding like rarer or limited edition items or employee edition items, like I would say is pretty high. So anyways, there's one listed on auction on eBay currently with a starting bid of $75, and there's 6 watches on it. So that item is similar but a little bit different than this one. And so I just figured, okay, well, the market's there. Like, only one person can win that auction, so I'll just get the other person. And there are a lot of other kind of this style, but like cotton or polyester, that sold between $40 to $70, like pretty regularly on eBay. So yeah, I just need to decide, do I want to start this a little bit higher than the auction price, or be savage and start my auction at like $45? Then see what happens. So anyways, yeah, something to decide. The next hat I picked up, I thought was really cool. It also screamed vintage to me just by the style of it. So embroidered, or this is actually like a patch that has been placed on it. And when I looked inside, this is really what got me to like look it up. The tag here, it just screams like the 70s show, which I never watched, but I know the font just by virtue of being a graphic designer. And so I was like, okay, yeah, this feels like it's an older item. This is considered a trucker hat. Some keywords you could use is like mesh back, patch, trucker, vintage, that sort of thing. So when I saw this, I was like, is this Wonder Woman? And then I was like, maybe it's like the Navy or something. I was just like, because I just saw like a bird, right? So anyways, I looked it up and there was only one listed, and it was listed for $50 by somebody who was using AI. So like, they didn't have any actual images of the hat, and it just looked like they like took it from the retailer site. That usually can be a differentiator in itself, like me just showing their real product in hand with all of its, flaws or imperfections. In Google Lensing it, I found out that it's a Waylon Jennings hat. This patch is called the Flying W. So I'm assuming that is probably a keyword for this item. I looked up who Seeger is, and it's a hat manufacturer. So I looked on their website to see if they still sold this particular hat, and they have the listing still up, but it is sold out on their site, and the retail for that went for $35. Looking like safely, I could probably list this $35, $50. I think I might go ahead and start mine a little bit higher. With the combination of these hats and some plush, I did, get over the finish line, and yeah, I feel like I need to go like buy some ginger ale or something. Like my stomach is like, ooh, like not feeling it. But yeah, marathon, day 5. How long do marathons last? Like a day? I feel like I'm doing 8 marathons back to back. See you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.